Hello guys, I am back with some of the previous year questions. Now we'll deal with literary criticism, literary theory and cultural studies. Literary criticism, look at these questions. With which of these is Ngugi wa Thiong'o generally associated? It is not a difficult question. Everybody should know he wrote Decolonizing the Mind. Okay, this question was asked in Morning Shift of 2021. Who among the following posits the tradition of great writers as an inescapable fact and takes the ambivalent position of considering it as a blessing and a curse? We are tempted to write F.R. Lewis because of the words great tradition, but Harold Bloom also wrote Western canon. He wrote a lot of books about the tradition. When you say ambivalent, blessing and curse, this is not a conservative position. This is written by some later theoretical author, not by F.R. Lewis. This is not what new critics would say. So it is Harold Bloom. In the Function of the Present Time, that is an essay by Matthew Arnold. What does he present as the essence of criticism? This is important and easy. You should know it is disinterestedness. Disinterestedness is a very important concept in Matthew Arnold. Which of the following narrative cycles is referred to in Michel Foucault's What is an Author? Array guys, even if you don't understand the essay, if you just open the essay, the text of the essay and look at it, you can answer this question. Henna, it is Arabian Nights, the 1001 Nights. So the first thing is to at least look at the major essays and then start reading them. Okay, another question from Matthew Arnold. Which two of the following are fallacious, wrong evaluations of poetry according to study of poetry? It is personal fallacy, historical fallacy. Don't judge a poet based on personal fallacy because he is contemporary. Don't judge a poet along the historical fallacy, that is based on the fact that he is ancient. Who among the following was of the view that poetry was only an imitation, of an imitation, and therefore trivial? That is a BA level question. Plato said poetry was an imitation of an imitation. Okay, coming to 2022 criticism. Who said that pre-Raphaelites are a fleshly school of poetry? Array, that is very easy. Robert Buchanan. I always teach this. I hope everybody knows this. Find the correct explanation of aporia. Remember guys, in the exam hall, don't think too much. As soon as you see a question like this, tell yourself, it is easy. I can answer. There is no problem here. And read carefully. Look at the answer. It is applied to a work of art fraught with inherent tension. Aporia is when there is inherent tension in a work of art. J. Hillis Miller, one of the leading exponents of deconstruction, makes a deconstructive reading of which of the poems of P.B. Shelley? Now, that one you can't answer unless you study, unless you read. It is Shelley's last poem, The Triumph of Life. Guys, can you guess the authors of these major works? Some of these you know. Surprised by Sin, the reader in Paradise Lost, is Stanley Fish. Problems of Dostoevsky's Poetics is Mikhail Bakhtin. I think the answer we have given is wrong. If you know B3D1, B3D1, ये तो गलत है. No, D1 नहीं, C1, sorry. This is correct we have given. अरे, it is, time is 1 o'clock at night and मैं कुछ भी बोल देती हूँ. Problems of Dostoevsky's Poetics is Mikhail Bakhtin, correct. Surprised by Sin is Stanley Fish, correct. है ना? A2, even if you don't know this, it's okay. Poetics of Prose is Svetan Todorov. The Way Women Write is Mary Hyatt. Okay? Good. The ancient and modern quarrel in Western literary criticism appears in 6th century CE. 16th. 16th. That means Renaissance period. Yes. Ancient and modern quarrel began in 16th century Renaissance period. That is also easy. Which of the following are Plato's main objections against poetry? The poet is an imitator. You should read like this in the exam hall. Did Plato say this? The poet is an imitator. Yes, correct. The poet is incapable of bravery. What? Of course, that is wrong. The poet, by fueling passions and emotions, weakens reason. Correct hai, correct hai. The poet is less responsible. Arey, when A, C are correct, E bhi hona chahiye, because only that option is there. The poet has no knowledge of the world. Yes, okay, A, C, E. Who said there is, there can be, and there ought to be a difference between the language of prose and metrical composition? He said this against Wordsworth. What did Wordsworth say? Wordsworth said, there is essentially no difference between the language of poetry and the language of prose. Okay, this rejection of Wordsworth's dictum is by Coleridge. We know that. Next one. Sydney's Arcadia was influenced by... Seriously difficult, hai na? The Spanish romance of Montemayor, if you study, you know. The Italian paintings of Veronese. Italian paintings? The Arthurian legends is wrong. Metaphysical poetry, definitely wrong. Because metaphysical poetry came after this. It is Montemayor. What does Aristotle mean by the phrase language with pleasurable accessories? The pleasurable accessories of language should be found in separate parts of the play. C and D is the answer. Language full of rhythm and harmony. Language superadded with song. No way, it cannot be emotive language. Language full of pompous vocabulary will not be correct. In that case, only one option is possible, C and D. Dekho, permutation combination. This is easy. Identify the correct combinations. Dadaism, Tristan Zara. Dekho, correct hai. Super realism, Guillaume Apollinaire. Super realism मतलब क्या है? Surrealism. Super realism became surrealism. So Apollinaire. Surrealism, Marinetti. Filippo Marinetti wrote the Futurist Manifesto. Yeah, that is wrong then. Futurism, André Breton. Nahi, André Breton is surrealism. Nihilism, Turgenev, correct. In Fathers and Sons, he attacks nihilism, he depicts nihilism. So, A, B, E, correct. Now, who among the following, abhi to afternoon shift, who among the following has used lines from Shakespeare's play Othello to critique racism? This only if you study you will understand, and this is not even criticism. It is Derek Walcott, okay? Who among the following refers to high seriousness? Abhi aankhein band karke bol sakte hain. It is Matthew Arnold only. High seriousness, high truth and high seriousness, Matthew Arnold talked about. There will be questions like this. Ghabrana mat, don't be scared. It ought to be the first endeavor of a writer to distinguish nature from custom. Just read some of these essays by Dryden Johnson. But from the, style you may be able to write. They are themselves giving us the clue. You don't even have to read it. The above passage is a death knell of neoclassical criticism. Dryden, Pope and Addison are high neoclassical critics. Johnson mixed neoclassicism with some imagination and romanticism. It is Johnson. Without reading this, we can answer. Which of the following statements are true about reader response? It challenges the notion that the meaning is located within the text. Meaning is located not within the text but in the act of reading. समझ रहे हो? Reader response critics say it is not within the text, it is in reading. ठीक है, A is correct. It refutes that the author is the originator of meaning. Correct है. Author is not the originator of meaning. It sees the reader as a source of meaning. Correct है. It treats the text as self-sufficient. बिल्कुल गलत. Wrong. Because reader should be there. Text is not self-sufficient. It appreciates the texts that are historical. नहीं. Reader response criticism is not historical criticism. So this is actually an English language question. You don't even have to know much about reader response criticism. है ना? देखो next one. The following statement is given by which of the below mentioned critics? I was indignant. I demanded an explanation. Nothing happened. I burst apart. छोड़ो यार. You don't even have to answer. Every single question you don't have to answer. Okay? अभी तो जानते हो, it is Frantz Fanon. Okay, right. Identify the post-colonial critics who use the ideas of Lacan, Foucault, Derrida to critique Eurocentrism. The post-colonial critics who attacked Eurocentrism. Homi Bhabha, Gayatri Spivak, Abdul Yan Mohammed, Edward Said, Amy Sasser. Amy Sasser is negritude. He talked about Negroes. It was not about this. So, definitely he must be wrong. All the others are correct. Dekho, negative capability is a term coined by John Keats. Okay. While analyzing the term, T.S. Eliot proclaims that Hamlet is an artistic failure. While analyzing the term dissociation of sensibility, T.S. Eliot says this. No. It was in analyzing the term objective correlative. है ना? Second statement is wrong. Statement 1 is true. Statement 2 is false. Okay. Who coined the term the movement? It is J.D. Scott. That is famous. Who is associated with intentional fallacy? BA level question. William K. Wimsatt. Inane godliness. It is a bad word. I mean, inane godliness is not praise. It is attacking neoclassicism. It will not be Arnold or Eliot. It is Wordsworth in the advertisement to lyrical ballads. Even in lyrical ballads, it is there. Okay? Did you understand that these questions are not difficult? You don't have to stress. These are silly questions actually. देखो अभी वो क्या करेंगे? लिटरेरी थियोरी देखने वाले हम. ठीक है? Ready. 2021 morning shift. Which of the following are features of the theatre of the absurd? ध्यान से पढ़ो. This is English language question. ACE only is the answer. Lacking in conflicts and dramatic tensions नहीं होगा. D must be wrong. Did you understand? देखो B. Presentation of futile actions devoid of any goal. Absurd. Presentation of futile लगता है ना? ठीक सही है, correct है. Emphasis on the central God in the universe. That is wrong. Central role of God in the universe is wrong. Presentation of futile actions correct लगता है. Portrayal of situations. अरे this is wrong. ये क्या लिखा है? B is correct. Portrayal of situations that point to the meaninglessness of life. Meaningfulness. That's wrong. Lacking in conflicts and dramatic tensions. Correct. Presenting players in a stasis. It is BDE. BDE. Sorry guys. Which of the following are features of the theatre of the absurd? यहाँ भी BDE. Oh, it is given here. Okay. कुछ proofreading mistake है. What might the reader mean when he addresses time in a Shakespearean sonnet? I will be true despite thy scythe and thee. Time has a scythe, matlab knife, with which he cuts down people. Even then, I will be true. That is the meaning. So, time preserves human life is wrong. With time comes change is right. Time creates opportunities is wrong. Time removes human life is right. B and D, silly question it is. Which two of the following essays form part of the dialogic imagination? I always tell you, for the major books, you should look up the contents page. They might ask you title of essays. Okay? Discourse in the novel and forms of time and the chronotope in the novel. Before the exam, look up the contents page of major books, critical books. Who among the following says that ideology is a representation of the imaginary it is Althusser. A representation of the imaginary relationship of individuals to their real conditions of existence. Althusser's famous definition. Who coined the term ecofeminism? Francois Dubon. That is famous. Remember that. In recasting the canon of English poetry, in new bearings in English poetry, which of the following pairs was downgraded by F.R. Lewis? He is recasting the canon. F.R. Lewis. F.R. Lewis will not say Browning and Arnold are canon. Pound, Ezra Pound and Hopkins are canon. He will not say. He will not say Tennyson is the canon. It has to be Milton and Shelley. Shelley को बोलेगा क्या? Downgraded anyway. अभी ये तो आसान नहीं है. You have to study. Who is the author of Radiant Textuality? अरे, that is also difficult. Jerome McGann. Okay, अभी तो पता चला. With which of the following is Baudelaire's Flowers of Evil associated? Definitely symbolism and modernism. Not neoclassicism or postmodernism. This is easy. Which two of the works are by I.A. Richards? Again, I'm reminding you, major critics, all their works, look up. Even if you study only, you will be able to. It is B and C only. Science and Poetry and Philosophy of Rhetoric. Science and Poetry and Philosophy and Rhetoric. How does T.S. Eliot sum up the peculiar quality of Marvell's Horatian Ode? This is also a tough question. A tough reasonableness beneath a slight lyric grace. Which of the following statements best articulates Fanon's political position? Answer is the African bourgeoisie can never succeed in the task of nation building. I teach this in my post-colonialism presentation. He critiqued our African bourgeoisie. You should remember. Frantz Fanon critiqued African bourgeoisie. Arrange the following terms in chronological order. Think of the authors, you will understand. Phallogocentrism is Derrida. Locutionary act is J.L. Austin. Interpellation is Althusser. Interpretive community is Stanley Fish. Stanley Fish has to be the last. Stanley Fish has to be the last. There is only one option with Stanley Fish last. Easy question. Stanley Fish wrote in 1980s. Which of the following are novels by David Lodge? Thank God, I have been teaching this for years. Usually they asked only criticism of David Lodge. The British Museum is falling down. अरे encyclopedia में है ना हमारा Bodhi Tree encyclopedia में. The Seven Sisters, I think, is by Muriel Spark or Iris Murdoch or somebody. Changing Places, Academic Romance, it is by David Lodge. Nice work also. Empire of the Sun is J.G. Ballard. So A, C, D. Okay, not difficult actually. Arrange these terms chronologically. देखो ध्यान से. Dissociation of sensibility, T.S. Eliot. Unreliable narrator is Henry James. Theatre of cruelty, that is Antonin Artaud. Egotistical sublime must be first because it is Keats. D first, Keats. Okay, 3 options are there. T.S. Eliot is there. Henry James is there. After Keats, it must be Henry James or T.S. Eliot. Then Theatre of Cruelty. है ना? So at least we can eliminate. Correctly, it is DACB. Unreliable narrator is not Henry James, right? It is Henry James, I think. DACB. Okay. Now, which of the following observations are true about Roland Barthes' contribution to literary theory? बहुत है पढ़ने के लिए. B, C, D, E. Roland Barthes देखो. He rejected the model for structural analysis of narrative. He rejected the model of structural analysis is wrong. He used the model in analyzing Balzac's Sarrasine. That is wrong. He perceived meaning as an effect of various interconnections. Correct? Hermeneutic, semic, symbolic, cultural. Remember different 5 codes he talked about. He identifies the various codes found in the process of structuration. Correct? He played a significant role in the development of semiology. Correct? Easy question it is, even though there is so much to read. He questions the concept of literary criticism as an act of uncovering hidden truth intended by the author. Very correct. Death of the author. So A is wrong. Easy question. Statements. The Marxists represent Marxism as a scientific account of social change. ठीक है, correct. The Marxist ideology believes that culture is a mirror of social life. Okay. And the artist is an engineer of the human soul, educating the working classes. A and R both are correct. That is how they give a scientific account of social change, it seems. R is the correct explanation of A. इतना easy नहीं है, फिर भी. Aha, again statement, assertion, reason. Insofar as we taught how to read, what we engage are not texts, but paradigms. A text is a paradigm. We appropriate meaning from a text according to what we need or desire. Correct. What we engage in reading is not a text but a paradigm. We appropriate meanings from it according to critical assumptions of the predisposition we bring to it. What assumptions we bring to the text, according to that we create meaning. Both A and R are correct, and R is a correct explanation of A. The tip is, aram se padho, and maybe you'll understand. Okay, don't get stressed. Contrapuntal reading is easy. Edward Said. Which of the following codes are common? Synthetic code नहीं होता. Proaeretic, semic, hermeneutic, symbolic and cultural होता है. Synthetic code is wrong. Who is the author of A Literature of Their Own? Elaine Showalter. Easy. Which is the correct sequence? Abhi, we have given the years mostly. Only B is missing. Because the others are very famous. Room of One's Own you should know. 1929, isn't it? Room of One's Own is 1929. Galti se 7 likha. Sexual Politics you should know. Sexual Politics is 69-70. Kate Millett. 1970 or 69 both. Female Imagination by Patricia. That is difficult, है ना? We don't know for sure. We can't memorize, है ना? That is difficult. Patricia Spacks, Patricia Mayer Spacks. Gynocriticism it is. Uh, Thinking About Women. Who wrote it? Thinking About Women is a very major feminist text by Mary L. Mann. I teach this in feminism, but even I don't remember the year. So, Room of One's Own. One thing you can understand. World of Difference is by our Barbara Johnson, isn't it? Or some writer, even I don't know. So it is not that easy unless you know. Barbara Johnson, only World of Difference, hai na? Yes. Yeah, I remember. It is by Barbara Johnson. Barbara Johnson is a Yale critic, a contemporary of Yale critic. So she must be, this must be after. This is the last then. Barbara Johnson's must be the last. All these came before. समझ रहे हो? Thinking About Women is the 19th century. Yeah, that we should know. D 19th century. Like that, if you know 2 or 3, you will be able to guess. That is the trick. ये तो यहाँ गलत लिखा है हमने. My intention is not to tell you the answers. My intention is to tell you the method by which we should understand. 1983 है ना, 19th century नहीं है. This is 1983. Thinking About Women is a feminist text ना. 19 गलत लिखा था. Okay, now it's clear. Room of One's Own is first. Yes. World of Difference must be last. ऐसा in between whatever it is, you don't have to know even. It is not about years, it is about authors. Did you understand? It is about authors. This trick is about authors. Yeah. Kimberly Crenshaw's intersectionality is widely used for BDE. देखते हैं क्या है? B, racial justice. Yeah, because it is related to critical race theory. Complex construction of power. Identity politics. It is not academic deterioration. It is not peace formation. Kimberly Crenshaw, intersectionality. Not academic deterioration. Not peace formation. Rest are correct. 2 statements. Roland Barthes describes 2 basic categories of text as read early and write early. ठीक है? Language is a window through which one sees the world. वो भी ठीक है, लेकिन explanation तो नहीं है. एक दूसरे का explanation नहीं है. In the 19th century, Charlotte Perkins Gilman asserted economic independence over voting rights. You know, Charlotte Perkins Gilman wrote Women and Economics. That is where she said this. Yes. The representation of women as power seekers was not socially acceptable in 19th century America. True. Yeah. A and R are correct. And R is the correct explanation of A. Then, who's the author of 3 women's texts? Array, famous, Gayatri Spivak. She talks about White Sargasso Sea, Jane Eyre, and Frankenstein. Which are the 3 phases of feminism? Feminine, feminist, female, easy. According to Elaine Showalter. Feminine, feminist, female. Okay. Look at this. Gender and nation. Greek homosexuality is famous. The subject of tragedy, the souls of black folk. If you know some of these, you can understand. Souls of black folk is W.E.B. Du Bois. है ना? देखो. C1. Sorry, D3. Then, Greek homosexuality is J. Dover. And A4 it is Gender and Nation, Ewell Davis. Subject of tragedy is Catherine Belsey. Okay. Arey, this is easy because only one D3 is there, yaar. Souls of the Black Fork and W.B. Du Bois, everybody should know. Only one D3 is there. Easy. Which among the following critics appropriates the following statement by Karl Marx? They cannot represent themselves. They must be represented. It is Chandra Talpade Mohanty. Not very easy unless you read. Which of these is wrong? Criticism in Wilderness is Jeffrey Hartman. Madness and Civilization, array, it is Roland Barthes, it is Michel Foucault. Poetry and Repression, Harold Bloom. Stranger to Ourselves. Only the easy wrong one is the answer. Others are correct. Okay, Madness and Civilization is the answer. Identify the correct ones. Bahut padhna hai, that is the problem. B, C, D are correct. Dekho. The 19th century poets fully exploited the poetic form of dramatic monologue. वो तो correct है. The dramatic monologue ensures the reciprocal dialogue of the narrator. No. Only one-way dialogue it is. Reciprocal nahi hai. Reciprocal means two-way. Then, the Poetry of Experience by Robert Langbaum outlines a discussion of dramatic monologue. That is not easy. You now know. The linguistic pragmatics make the narcissistic speaker of dramatic monologue speak exclusively. Yeah, dramatic monologue has a speaker who speaks exclusively. He is narcissistic. Think of My Last Duchess. The speaker and the listener in the dramatic monologues of Browning share the same pedestal of communication. Nahi, listener to nahi hota, there is no listener. He is wrong. Okay. Which of the following terms are applicable to the term carnival? A, B, C. It became important through the work of Mikhail Bakhtin, correct? It means the way in which popular humor subverts official authority, correct? In classical, medieval and Renaissance texts. Okay. It overturns the established hierarchy and sets up a popular and democratic counterculture. It overturns hierarchy, correct. It brings out the serious elements in literature is wrong. It is used as a critical tool for interpretation of poetry. Wrong. Easy. If you have the patience to read, you can understand. Because wrong sentences are absolutely wrong. Which of the following are representative texts of gynocriticism? Gynocriticism, Patricia Meyer-Spack's very important. Sandra Gilbert and Susan Gubar, very important. Literary Women by Ellen Moores. Ayyo, my team test is, what is this team test? Ellen Moores, Literary Women also. Sexual Textual Politics nahi hai gynocriticism. Mary Ellman's Thinking About Women nahi hai. Roland Barthes believes that the author is the epitome and culmination of capitalist ideology. Correct hai. Walter Benjamin in his Storyteller observes that every real story has something useful in it. मुझे नहीं पता था, अभी तो जान गई. Statements 1 and 2 are true. Find the chronological order of publication. Mythology is Roland Barthes. That is 1950 something. Of Grammatology is 1968. Culture and Society is again 57. Blindness and Insight is by Paul D. Mann. Location of Culture later, Homi Bhabha. Dekho, E must be last. E is last. Dekho, if you know that, everyone has E last. Mythology is his first. After that, Culture and Society. A, C, correct. Now, Karl Marx, German ideology. Levi Strauss, elementary structures of kinship. Michel Foucault, madness and civilization. Jean-Paul Sartre, being and nothingness. That is easy. Then, two statements. Dr. Johnson had an inclination towards Tory political ideology. Absolutely true. Dr. Johnson strongly believed in transcendental skepticism. That is difficult, isn't it? Both are true. The trick is don't be afraid of it. Even if you don't get some questions right, it is okay. Which of these is true about essay on criticism? It is an inquiry into the nature and value of poetry. Essay on criticism. It's not about poetry, it's about criticism, right? It presents a series of generalizations about good taste. That is true. It explores the challenges of impartial and just criticism. It underlines the traits of a good critic. Okay. It critically reflects on Plato's rejection of poetry. Nahi. If you are calm in the exam hall, you can say B, C, D. You have to be calm in the exam hall, okay? According to Gerard Genett, who are the two types of narrators? Gerard Genett is a narratologist. B and D. Heterodiegetic, homodiegetic. Extra diegetic means outside the text. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा शायद. Intradiegetic, interdiegetic मतलब intra means inside the text. Inter means between texts. Sounds like nonsense. I don't know if anybody said all that. Homo and hetero. Okay. Which of the following is applicable to new criticism? इतने सारे बड़े-बड़े questions. Wow. देखो, B, A, B, C. Let us read. D and D must be nonsense. New criticism. It draws considerably from the works of I.A. Richards. ठीक है? And the critical essays of T.S. Eliot. Okay, correct. Some of its concepts are preempted by F.R. Lewis. That means he did not agree. It distinguishes between literary and scientific usage of language. Very famously, yes. Now it encourages an extensive exploration of the context. Is wrong. D is absolutely wrong. They only want you to patiently read it, guys. It vouches for a historical analysis. Is wrong. Vouches for means it supports. Wrong, na? This is English language question. Okay? Who among the following considers a text as a site of struggle between authority and popular culture? Authority and popular culture. It is Mikhail Bakhtin. That is not easy. Hamartia as tragic flaw. Aristotle, obviously. Derrida mentions that an aesthetic discourse always involves values and interests independent from a pure and neutral aesthetic realm. An aesthetic discourse always involves values and interests independent. Correct hai. Read carefully. Derrida believed that the outside influence is assessment of aesthetics. Outside influence in assessment of aesthetics always enters as and when philosophers and historians point out element of truth. An outside influence in assessment of aesthetics enters. Correct hai dono. Okay? Now. Bricolage, Levi-Strauss. Dasein, Heidegger. Parapraxis, Freud. Polyphony, Bakhtin. Easy peasy. What are the main points of convergence between Derrida and Barth? A, B, D, E. A, B, D, E. See, dekho, both construe that language has retrospective power. Not easy, na? Language has retrospective power and all in the exam hall will not make any sense. Chodo yaar, it's okay. You don't have to answer every question. Which of the following are the premises of post-colonial criticism? Maybe previous question you want me to explain. I will read. Both believe in the endless play in language and literary text. Correct hai? Both conclude that the meaning of a text is not final. वो भी ठीक है, correct है. Both construe that language we don't know. Keep it aside. We believe that no meaning, they believe that no meaning is reliable. Correct hai. They believe that the relationship between words, meanings and texts are intrinsic to meaning. Relationship is intrinsic to meaning rather than the word itself. The relationship is what matters, not the word. लगता है, if you are calm in the exam hall, you will know, okay, I don't know about C, so that is wrong. Which of the following are premises of post-colonial criticism? It rejects the claims of universalism made by canonical Western literature. Correct. It foregrounds the questions of cultural difference and diversity. Correct. It acts on the principles of peaceful coexistence. Nahi. Post-colonial criticism does not talk about coexistence peacefully. Conflict will be there. Hybridity will be there. Dialectical polyvalency and all will be there. D is correct. It celebrates hybridity and cultural polyvalency. Correct. It resists homogenization. Correct. So C is absolutely wrong. According to Foucault, the French Revolution created grounds for the birth of the clinic. Yes. Foucault mentions that the doctors started caring for the body of the patients the way patients cared for the soul of the sinners. Correct. Oh, इतने सारे बड़े questions क्यों पूछते हैं? Which of the following are true in the context of phenomenology? Oof. Really, guys, I appreciate you a lot. Phenomenology. Absolutely wrong is Martin Heidegger's approach is essentialist. That is wrong. Other sentences are all correct. It is a form of methodological idealism. If there is something absolutely wrong, go for it, okay? It is a philosophical method developed by Husserl, correct. Heidegger is a leading philosopher, correct. Text is purely an embodiment of the author's consciousness, correct. Martin Heidegger's approach is essentialist is wrong. Which of the following is not a sign, according to Charles Sanders Peirce? He talked about iconic, indexical and symbolic. Visual, ऐसा नहीं होता. Okay. Oh my God, so many questions. देखो एक और only 3 pages, don't worry. Okay, now which of these UK universities, this is from culture studies, which of these UK universities saw the first institutionalized incorporation of cultural studies? University of Birmingham, easy question. What is the name of the journal published from Bowling Green University? That is where they started popular culture course. Popular culture course started there. It is Journal of Popular Culture. Which of these questions would culture studies be most interested in taking? Let us look at the answer A, B, C. Who decides what is to be produced? Correct. Remember, in Stuart Hall's model of communication, etc., production is important. Who decides production is important, yes. Who can afford the artifact? Correct hai. How is the artifact marketed? Correct. What is the register of speech in the artifact? Galat hai. Easy it is. Which of these does the book How to Read Donald Duck? Unless you know, you wouldn't answer. Noble Savage, okay? It analyzes imperialist ideology in terms of noble savage. Okay, which of the following qualify for the label cultural intermediary? The film magazine columnist, the director, fan clubs, the producer. The director is a creator. He is not intermediary. Director and producer are creators. Cultural intermediaries are the other two. What was the center? Yo, such a simple question. Set up for studying culture at the University of Birmingham. CCCS, Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies. Okay, chronological arrangement. Edmund Spencer's Fairy Queen. अबे ये तो culture studies तो नहीं है. Culture studies, okay, anyway, we'll see. Edmund Spencer's Fairy Queen. Coleridge and Wordsworth's Lyrical Ballads. Pablo Neruda's Canto General. Baudelaire's Flowers of Evil. A, B, obviously. Then D, C. Which of the following is true of mass media? You understand that mass media has one central source and it transmits to everywhere else. And that linear concept of mass media was rejected in cultural studies. Okay? Mass media is one source transmitting severally. Who among the following is associated with philosophy of praxis? Gramsci. Antonio Gramsci. Which of the following is true about culture and society? Answer is A and C. It critiques the idea of high culture. Correct. It overlooks the idea of high culture. Wrong. It directly talks about it. It defines culture as a way of life. Correct. It equates culture with science. No. A and C only. Which of these is true of culture studies? It is politically engaged. Very true. It privileges text over context. No. It privileges culture or context. It has a symbiotic relationship with formalism. Nahi. It studies the means of production of the text. Correct. I think this is a simple question. Now, statements. Comparative literature is a study of different cultures, nations, genres, exploring the inherent relationship between literature and other forms of culture. Okay, correct. In the study of literature and culture, the importance of methodology is secondary. How come? No. That is wrong. Yeah, statement 1 is true, statement 2 is false. So that is the end of our discussion. There were big questions. Maybe the video was boring for you. Pause करके थोड़ा करके देखोगे तो it will benefit you. I should have said this at the beginning. Anyway, thank you very much. Bye. The time is 11:40 now. I have to go to bed. Good night, guys. Good morning, guys. Whatever it is, study well, guys. Bye.